Hey guys, GWS here. Here to do something that you don't often see from really the left or the right anymore, and it's kind of sad. And this isn't to take this lightly at any rate. As you can see here, I have the video Justice Democrats Exposed as Frauds Part 2. And I released several other videos, including a recent one where I had conversations with Justice Democrats. And let me just explain this, that part of the problem, and this does not excuse my end of this, is that Justice Democrats are incredibly evasive about their finances, incredibly evasive about their methodology and any kind of criticism. Because I've tried to reach out to Justice Democrats on Twitter and they have silent blocked me. Everywhere I've went, they've tried to censor me, they've tried to ban me, they've tried to shut me up. Um, and then I ran across somebody. Um, yeah, I'd like him to remain anonymous, but it was somebody who works for Justice Democrats. Let me just put it that way. And he actually went through, bent over backwards, went through the effort. Let's make sure this is on. Okay, we're on. Let me make sure we're getting a feed, and we are, because I don't want to retake this. Okay, but anyhow, I met this lawyer, and this person, I don't know if he's a lawyer, and I don't know what he is, but he works for Justice Democrats. That's the extent that I'm willing to go into it. But I went over all the FEC stuff, all the documents, and it seemed like he had pretty satisfactory explanations for some of the stuff. Now, first of all, let me just explain what is true about Justice Democrats, and then we'll go into the other. Um, Justice Democrats is establishment. They're barely distinguishable from any other corporate Democratic PAC. They make a lot of claims to be anti-establishment, but in reality, they're using the same tools, the same mechanisms, the same databases, the same nearly everything as the Democratic Party. They just claim that they're not taking any corporate money. Which does not mean that they're not going to be the same as the DNC if they're using the same tools, such as ActBlue, such as Amalgamated Bank, such as these consulting firms that you'll see in their disbursements, and it just seems, basically, with Justice Democrats, it just seems like a lot of wasted money, perhaps to pay some of their partners, the DNC partners, to give the devil his dues, I guess, is to say. But, okay, so they are establishment, but let me just tell you what they're not. They're not frauds, right? It's like, they are a thing. This is not just some scam. Now, granted, they're giving a lot. I think there's a misperception in where their money's going, but here's two of the biggest things. Number one contention of mine, the biggest thing, was the $800,000 of itemized donations. Now, if you guys don't know the law, here's how the law works. If there are donations above $200, they have to be itemized. You don't have to itemize anything below $200. But it was my understanding, at least previously, that there were tons and tons of small donations of under $200, usually $27. That was by far the most common donation. And where I made my mistake, and this is just a basic fundamental logical fallacy, is I assumed that there's no way that, because the way it works is if the donations add up to more than $200, you have to include all, even the small donations from the individuals. And so, it was brought to my attention that they have a lot of super repeat donors that just keep repeating, donating consistently. And, um, you know, I responded to the guy with disbelief. Like, like there's no way you're going to have 8 $27 donations by one person. You know, like they're either going to donate all at once or, but to my surprise and sadly, there's a lot of months wasted just on this basic misconception. Is every single one of those that I looked at least through the first 50 pages, and I'm just going to assume it just goes all the way to the 450 something pages, that yes, these all did add to above $200. And so I was 100% wrong when I claimed that about Justice Democrats. The $800,000 does have an explanation. And then I also brought up about the fact, my second biggest contention was Justice Democrats on the 9th of January filed as a super PAC. And this is a thing that a lot of Justice Democrats, particularly those I talked with and have continued to talk with, flat denied it. The fact is, they did file as a super PAC. But the person I talked to, and this is the only one that has ever given me sufficient information based on factual data, not name calling, not lies, not trying to shut me up, but addressing my genuine concerns. And those genuine concerns, he brought up a Reddit post that he had made explaining the super PAC designation. And granted, I'm no expert, and I'm not sure specifically where he was coming from, but what it seemed to be is they were trying to file as like basically they were advised to file as a hybrid PAC, and then they had made a mistake. That was basically the gist of a very long Reddit post. And it's like I said, I'm not even sure I understand, but I read through it, and it seemed like there were lots of misunderstandings about what structure they should be under. And that had to be cleared up in the weeks to come after their filing. And, based on the nuance of that, in the very least, I just have to give it a pass. It wasn't as simple as 99.99% of Justice Democrats were giving me, such as, we did this because it makes the paperwork easier, we did this because, just these simple, unnuanced explanations. And I feel like this is, unfortunately, too big of a habit of Justice Democrats. Fortunately, not for this individual I spoke with, but for people representing them, defending them, is there's not nuance to their defenses. So, it's like I can't have nuance from my end because all I see is there's all this there's this 3-week period of a super PAC. Like, what can I gather from that? Like, I can't. There's nothing. There's no information I can gather from that period where they have an unitemized account. I can't gather information from that. Or an unaccounted for account that receives unlimited donations, a carry pack. So those are the two things I was wrong about. So I would like to apologize to Justice Democrats for these errors, and I'd like to apologize to my viewers, to my subscribers, for those errors. Those were horrible errors, those were simple errors, those were errors that I should have accounted for. When I looked at this information, I should have looked harder. I should have done the basic research to realize that names are sorted in alphabetical order, and that I would not have to do a statistical analysis to figure this stuff out. It was pure laziness on my part to go as far as I did, and for that I apologize. But again, I'm just gonna add with this because I think this is the most important thing: is um, Justice Democrats. They're a legitimate group, but it does not make them right. It does not make them uncorrupt. It does not make them immune to criticism, because, as I said, the fact is they have these very shady associations. They have these very shady dealings with money, such as, with ActBlue, who is a DNC entity. You can say it's just a filter to donate to particular candidates, but is a Republican going to get that kind of no? So there's already politics injected in that, whether you like it or not. And there's just so much shady stuff if you look into the individual disbursements, and just the idea of not donating to their own candidates, which his explanation for that was a lot less satisfactory, because I don't care if it's not an election year. The fact is, you received X money, you spent half of it, you shoveled some into other political groups, but yet none into your own candidates. I don't care if stuff is done through another person's PayPal link, because the fact is this: if you're not supporting your own candidates that you're touting on your website with the minimum donation, then, well, it's just the misconception that when you're donating, think about this. Like, you go to Justice Democrats, right, and you click on their donation link. I assume people think that, well, this is going to these candidates. That's what people are going to assume, whether they intend it or not. And you can't help but think that there's some intent for that to be there. So that's basically the problem. There's a lot of shady dealings, but I was wrong in these 2 points here, and I just want to clear that up, because unlike some people, I will issue, if I am wrong and somebody shows me that I'm wrong, in a way that is evidence-based, as was done for me, then I promise you I will change my tune. And even going further with Justice Democrats, if somebody wants to explain how some of these dealings are not shady in a satisfactory way, then you're welcome to do so. You're welcome to come on my channel, anybody. I don't care who. Hell, I'll even let the idiots from BTR back on here. If you guys want an explanation, just come and offer it on my channel, and you're welcome to participate in the discussion. Anyhow, thanks so much for listening, guys, and God bless.